Hey folks, Country Prepper here. Well, I have finally made it out for a much needed day in the woods. I am packing really light. I did bring a couple of things to keep myself more comfortable. I brought a chair and brought my dog with me. If you can hear him traipsing through the leaves, he's just having a blast. I got an orange vest for him because it is hunting season. The sun's just coming up. I got out here first thing in the morning and just want to spend a day out here just kind of relaxing, shoot a few videos for you guys, and de-stress a lot. Joe, are you excited to be in the woods? Yes? Yes? All right, let's go. Go, 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 go. I think he loves it out here just as much as I do. Alright, so I need to get a fire going. And that, well, if you guys can see that, maybe when I get a little bit closer to it, lighting isn't very good. That is perfect kindling. It's dead and it's been hanging up in the air. So I'm going to grab that and break a few pieces up. There's some other stuff just kind of hanging around here. And, you know, you don't always have to cut anything down to find kindling. Thought I'd show you guys some of the stuff I brought with me. I brought this little UST base tarp. It's really not big enough for anything else, so I used that for a place for Woodrow to lay down. And I brought one of my old shamags that's kind of tore up a little bit and let him lay on that, so he's got a little bit of insulation. You can see it's reflective on the back side, so keep him off of the cold hard ground and keep him a little bit insulated from it. I did bring my cold steel axe head cane, and that works a lot better out in the woods. It's a lot sturdier, a lot stronger, and it's got a bigger foot on it. I also wrapped the handle in Wilson wrap. I never understood that stuff, watching Chris Tanner use it all the time on all kinds of stuff. Now I get it. It just makes the handle nice and not really sticky, but just grippy. It's almost like micarta when it's wet. It just grips to your hand really well. And of course I brought a chair for myself since I don't want to stand on this bum knee for too long. The only tripod I brought was my little Joby pod. I think that's what it's called. One of those little, you know, that kind of tripod. Power bank with a cord on it, of course, to keep my camera charged. I did bring this is my military poncho, and I got stakes and cordage all in there. Usually I wouldn't bring stakes with me because I can make them out of sticks if I need to. You know, for a day like this, it's kind of part of the fun of doing it. But because of my bad leg, my bad knee, I don't want to have to go search for green wood to make it into stakes. So I just brought some with me in case I needed it. There's no wind out here right now, so I'm not too worried about it. I brought one of my other shamags just for myself. Like I said, I was packing light, so I just brought this Mountain House scrambled eggs and bacon. I've never tried this one before, so I wanted to give it a try, and then if I like it, I'll buy a case of it. There's Woodrow's food for today, and I brought him a bowl to eat and drink out of. I didn't want to have to carry the water for another Mountain House or Backpacker's Pantry or whatever, for another freeze-dried meal. I didn't want to pack that extra water, because water weight adds up really fast. So for this afternoon, before I go home, you know, I'll probably be out here, I don't know, 6-7 hours, something like that. I just brought a couple of granola bars and some beef sticks and cheese cubes. That should hold me over this afternoon for quite a while. And then I also brought some orange. I also got a vest with me. It is hunting season, so even though I'm not out here hunting, just for the sake of safety, I brought some orange with me. And of course, you got to have the Sea to Summit long-handled spork for eating your Mountain House. Even for a short trip like this, you always got to have some type of hygiene stuff with you. Just those little individual wet ones, some compressed towels. That's what I store. I do not stockpile toilet paper like some preppers do. It just takes up too much room. So I've got I don't know. I've got a ton of these and different brands. Also brought some hand warmers just in case. I'm only about 150 yards from my truck, so shouldn't need them, but you just never know. Might have to warm up my toes. I couldn't wear my good insulated hiking boots. My left foot is still swelled up. It must be bruised or something. They've never really looked at it, but my toes are getting a little cold, so might have to use those just to warm up my toes quick, because I'm just wearing my regular Columbia hiking shoes. And then, of course, my first aid kit. I have a fairly extensive first aid kit just for going to the woods. That's one thing that always kind of drives me crazy about some of the other channels I watch, is they bring just a few band-aids and maybe some duct tape or something like that, and it's just not enough, guys. I brought that self-adhering wrap, and I got a couple of non-stick pads in case I have to rewrap my knee. I have a big laceration on my knee. There's some moleskin in there. I know I won't need that. Biofreeze just in case my muscles get tightened up and sore. There's an emergency blanket in there, right there. And then just, you know, all the basic little stuff, triple antibiotic ointment, you know, towelettes, for cleaning wounds, alcohol wipes, you know, all that kind of good stuff. There's a couple ab pads in there and a couple of, you know, some gauze pads, stuff like that. So, you know, anything for a major wound, laceration. If you're carrying a knife, you need something more than just Band-Aids, because if you ever get yourself good, there's also a tourniquet in there somewhere, but it's kind of buried. It needs to be at the top. It must have settled down to the bottom. There's some quick clot in there too. Okay, so as far as tools go, I have my little Fontanelle saw. I have a pocket bellow. The only other knife I brought other than this click knife is a Swiss Army knife. I believe the I can't remember if it's the camper model or the farmer. Can't remember for sure. And then a ferro rod and my leather strop. That's always in my bag no matter what. The only thing I brought for a fire kit is some fat wood and some birch bark. And then you'll see my cook kit here in a little bit, because I need to get a fire going and get some coffee on. Not going too overboard on the fire lay. I just wanted some stuff underneath. Just the leaves are going to burn up. I'm not too concerned about it. There's a little bit of frost on the ground this morning, so it's not too bad. It's not too wet out here, but it is cold. So I wanted the my kindling and stuff to be up off of all the ash and stuff that's left over in this pit. I got a bunch of little bitty pieces and slightly larger pieces broke up, ready to go, and some even bigger stuff right here next to the fire pit. And then I drug a bunch of big stuff, if you can see it, there it is, a bunch of bigger stuff over here. There was quite a few pieces already there from somebody else, and I just added a few more to it. Just wanting to make a few little shavings. Nothing real spectacular or special or anything. Just a little bit of extra surface area to catch a spark from the ferro rod. I do have a lighter in my pocket as always, but just in case, I'd rather start it with a ferro rod if I can. I will say I am liking this click knife a lot here. It is stupid sharp. That little place where you put your thumb, it gives you really, really great control on this knife. It's very comfortable. That handle just, it didn't look that great to me when I was looking at, when I saw it online, but now that I got it in my hand for doing these little small tasks, maybe some carving, feather sticks, or, you know, just making some little shavings like this, it works really great. I kind of wonder how it would handle skinning. Alright, well, I'm just going to broadcast some sparks, but let's see how it does striking a ferro rod. Not too great. So, I have a secret weapon for that. The Fontanelle saw. The Fontanelle knives work really well for this too. But look at that. No problem. One little tip if you're new to making a fire is you got to have plenty of air coming up underneath the flames. Where you set your base, it needs to have some space in between for air, and then it just goes up like nothing. Alright, gotta back my chair up a little bit. That's getting warm quick. Alright, well, I think I got enough wood cut up for now. All of it done with this little bitty saw. That is probably one of the best purchases I've made for a long time. It cuts very similar to a silky saw, but this is just a, pretty short blade. They do make a larger one. I think after using this one, I'm very happy with it. I think I'm going to go ahead and get the bigger one too. It does have the twist lock on it, just like their little folding knives. Okay, so I brought 2 cups for me to cook with. One of them I'm going to use to boil the water for my mountain house, and then once I'm done with it, I will use it to just keep some coffee warm. The other one, my titanium one here, I'm going to use that for my coffee right off the bat. And they nest inside of each other, and I also got a 10-ounce bottle of water to go with the mountain house. It was just the perfect amount. It actually calls for 8 ounces, but by the time you boil it and some of the steam lets off, it comes out just perfect. So at least that's what I've experienced with other mountain houses before, is I always put just a little bit extra, a couple ounces, more than what it calls for, because by the time it boils off, like I said, all that steam and everything, a lot of it evaporates, and so I've always had better luck doing it that way. The coffee I always bring with me are just these Folgers singles. They are in kind of like a tea bag type of thing. And so that works out perfect for backpacking or bug out bag or whatever. I keep some of these in my truck too, just for an emergency if you need a hot drink to warm yourself up. One other little thing that's a huge pet peeve of mine is, please guys, leave no trace. I am going to take this back out with me. Yes, it'll melt in the fire pit, but it doesn't completely go away. If people keep doing that, if everybody did that, then this fire pit would be full of little plastic nuggets. Same goes for your Mylar bags for your mountain house. Pack it out. Take it with you. It weighs nothing. There's no reason not to. I always keep a large baggie in my backpacks just for taking out trash. Alright, well, got the mountain house going. That's nice and hot. I like to keep it close to the fire ring because that metal will radiate the heat, help keep it a little hotter. And when it comes to these little Folgers packets, if you have a larger cup, I think this one's 750 milliliters, a single packet is just not quite enough for somebody like me. I like it a little bit strong, so I just put 2 of them in there. It works out great. Woodrow's enjoying his little bed here. I put my shemagh down for him too. He acted like he was a little bit cold, and now he seems like he's fine. Oh, that dark, rich goodness. Oh, that's going to be good. Pretty glad I got this titanium cup. Stainless steel, the handles will hold heat for a really long time, and you couldn't pick it up barehanded. I forgot my leather gloves, so I'm sure glad I brought the titanium cup. I have some stainless steel ones as well, but let's see how the coffee turned out. Steam up the glasses. A little hot, but yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, Folgers for the win for going out in the woods anyway. Okay, so the extra water with the scrambled eggs and bacon, bad idea. I ended up having to put it in, I poured my extra coffee into the cup that I was drinking coffee out of, and then I put the Mountain House scrambled eggs and bacon in my Stanley cup and poured a little of the extra water off of it. I got smoked out there. It's heating up in the Stanley cup now because there was too much water on it and it was cold already. So by the time that boiling water cooled down, it still wasn't ready. So it's a little cool out today. I think it was about, I don't know, 20 degrees this morning, somewhere around there. And so it didn't stay hot long enough to cook all the way through. So I put it in the Stanley cup to finish cooking it and to get some of the excess water out of it. I poured water out of the bag, and then there's still excess water, you know, in the eggs and stuff. So cooking that out, heating it back up, and then I'll get back to my breakfast. But I'm gonna go show you guys a couple other things while I'm sitting here waiting. By the way, the extra water thing works really great with the biscuits and gravy, not so much with the scrambled eggs and bacon. You guys might be wondering why I had all those big long pieces of wood that I drug over here when all I brought was that little tiny saw. Well, one of the reasons why I like this place so much, the reason that I came here today specifically, was because it's flat out here and I won't have so much trouble walking with my knee. Going uphill isn't so bad, but going downhill really hurts. So I wanted somewhere flat, and I also know this area very well. I've shot tons of reviews out here. I have spent many nights out here. I just really enjoy it out in this place. It's primitive, it's quiet. There's hardly anybody ever here. So, unless I invite people, usually. But I'm going to show you a couple things, why I use those big logs, and or those long pieces of wood, and why I don't need my saw. You take a look at those pieces of wood, and I've already used up a few of them. They're in the fire pit right now, and you see how they do not have a cut end. There's a reason for that. I know this place very well, and I've found a lot of ways to make things easier when I'm out in the woods. So I usually try to find something that's around about the diameter of like my forearm, and I can fit it in between those two trees and just break them off. If it's dry dead wood, they break really easy. There's no need to work my elbow or my shoulder with a saw, especially a little tiny saw like that, to break up wood to throw in a fire pit. And as you can see, I mean, they're sticking out past the end. You do not absolutely have to cut or break firewood that'll fit down in the pit. It can hang out the sides a little bit, and then when the end burns off, you shove it the rest of the way into the fire pit. So it's really not a big deal to not have a saw with you, except for maybe cutting some small pieces for kindling if you have to baton some wood to get to some dry stuff. But usually when you're out in the woods, you can find dead standing or hanging little branches that you can break off, tiny little stuff, and get a fire going. I had no trouble at all this morning. Imagine that. Just like a kid, you buy him toys and they play with the box. I brought this dog stuff to lay on to keep him from getting cold off the ground, and he lays in the leaves. He sure is a handsome hound though, aren't ya? Huh? Oh, woo-woo. I got the extra water cooked off. I kind of cooked the crap out of these eggs. There is not very much there. So if you're a really hungry guy, you might want 2 of them, or pick something else, because this is probably not going to be real filling. But I am getting back on my ketogenic diet, so that's why I wanted to try this bacon and eggs. And just kind of see how it turned out. I didn't bring any seasonings with me. I'm just gonna eat it as is, and I'll figure it out from there. You know, learn from your experiences, right? So let's take a little bitty bite here. It's plenty salty, probably from the bacon. Could definitely use some pepper, maybe some cayenne pepper. I actually like queso on my scrambled eggs, you know, the cheesy salsa stuff. That's pretty good. This isn't bad. I would definitely bring something to season it with. It's a little bland, but, you know, not bad. It wasn't so bad, but definitely needs something added to it, that eggs and bacon. So I'm just going to sit here and finish my coffee, maybe head back to the truck and get some more water. I didn't want to carry too much water in at a time. I didn't want too much weight at once. And so, you know, like I said, I was only 150 yards from the truck. So, might go get some more water, give Woodrow a drink. Next time I come out here, instead of bringing a Mountain House scrambled eggs and bacon, I'll probably just bring some real farm fresh eggs that I get from a friend of mine, and a couple other places if he doesn't have any. And some real bacon from the locker, locally grown stuff. It's cut really thick and it tastes so much better. But at Mountain House, it does in a pinch, and it works great if you don't want to carry extra weight. I mean, not the weight of the eggs and bacon really, but it's the stuff to cook with. I don't really like to cook directly on like these grates that are over top of these fire pits, because you just never know what's been on there, or what's been around it, what's touched it. So I don't like to throw my bacon right on top of one of those grates. But I do have a little pack grate that I'll have to bring out and do some cooking on and show you guys, and maybe do a review of it or something like that. I don't know, maybe probably just show it in a video. They call it the Bushcraft pack grate on Amazon, I think. I'll leave a link to all the stuff I'm using here today in the description box, so you guys can go check it out. It does help support the channel, but I'm really not out here to promote anything or do any reviews. I just needed some time away from all the stuff that goes on in life. You ever heard of, I don't know if they call it like notification anxiety, or just burnout on it. I hate my phone. There's no reception here. And that's one of the reasons why, another reason why I wanted to come here, is hearing my phone go off. I had to shut off all notifications from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything. All notifications gone. My phone doesn't even ring unless it's somebody that's been favorited in my contacts list. So I don't even get my phone doesn't even ring if somebody that I don't know calls me. So I'm just, it just gets really old, and especially from doing the sheath business. I really enjoyed the work, but it was, I needed a secretary. I needed somebody to deal with all the emails and notifications and phone calls and all that stuff, so that I didn't have to stress out over it. And it's kind of part of why I'm not going to do it for an income anymore, is I just don't want to deal with, it's not my subscribers. You guys have been awesome. People that watch my YouTube channel, you guys have always been really great about it. It's the people that find you through Google search results or whatever, or just come across you on Etsy, or when I was on eBay. It was worse on eBay than anything. But people that don't know you, don't know your business, don't know what's going on in your life, they're really impatient, really inconsiderate sometimes, and that kind of stuff got really old really fast. And I just needed to get out where it's quiet. And the only noises I'm hearing is I hear a vehicle go by, or a plane, or I heard some squirrels running around. I saw a couple deer, listening to the wind and the trees and the leaves falling and that kind of stuff. It's really rejuvenating, just a day out here, not having to deal with anything other than cooking something and whatever, getting firewood. It's really reinvigorating. Can't talk. My brain is just fried, guys. So another reason is I just want to get back to doing stuff like this, doing trip videos. I'm tired of having to do videos from the garage, and I want to do more videos of substance, things that will actually help people learn something, and just kind of a more enjoyable video, more enjoyable experience. It's a lot more fun for me, that's for sure, and gives me a reason to get away and de-stress for a while. So that's why this was titled A Much Needed Day in the Woods. Got another little tip for you guys. When you get done with your cook set, before I put this away, I always bring a stuff sack to put it in, or some kind of a bag or pouch or whatever, just so that you don't get all the soot and stuff. If you don't have stuff to clean it with, with you. Just put it in a stuff sack or something like that so you don't get, you know, the soot off of the fire and all the stuff, you know, all the black stuff on the inside of your backpack. Because once it gets on the inside of your backpack, it is really tough to get out. I learned that lesson the hard way, so I just thought I'd share that little tip with you guys just in case you didn't know. Works out really good. So I thought I'd just show you guys how well this little saw works. I have used this to cut up all of the like wrist size or smaller type of stuff. The bigger stuff I've been breaking off in between those two trees that I showed you. But you know, this little saw, for no bigger than it is, it works really well. Now obviously it's kind of a trade-off. A smaller saw, you know, this one is really lightweight, especially with this beechwood handle. But it saws really well. The trade-off is it's not as efficient as a larger saw. You know, this would take me half as much time if I had my bow saw with me. But, like I said, it's a trade-off. The lighter the saw, the smaller it is. Or the smaller it is, the lighter it is. Bigger it is, the heavier it is. So, you know, in my situation with this bad knee, you know, it was better for me to carry a smaller, lighter saw and have to do a little more work to cut up all this wood than it would be to carry the bigger, heavier saw. I realize even my Boreal 21 bow saw doesn't weigh very much, but ounces add up really fast. So that was one trade-off that I was willing to make. And as you can see, it's doing a pretty darn good job. Now usually I would actually carry both saws. I'd carry this little one for doing, you know, little stuff like kindling, if I was going to baton some kindling or something like that. Or, you know, just the really small stuff, I would use this. I would also use something like this for making notches or something like that. I also have a little saw on my Swiss Army knife in my pocket, but this works so much better than that. But you know, I usually bring my folding bow saw, the Boreal 21. I really like it. I've used it quite a bit. I need to get a video with that, using that. I'm sure you guys have seen other people use them too, though. It's a very popular saw. But like I was saying, it was just kind of a trade-off of weight versus efficiency. And for what I'm doing out here, I can cut up a lot of small stuff that's, like I said, wrist size, and I don't really need that big bow saw. I can't drag anything really heavy with my knee the way it is. So just grabbing stuff that's, like I said, wrist size, maybe forearm size at the most. And then, you know, I'll cut up the wrist size stuff with this. And then if it's bigger than that, I'll bust it off in the trees like I showed earlier. Or just throw it in the fire if it's short enough. I got a couple logs here that are hanging out the side of the fire up on the grate. And, you know, just propped up so they don't fall out of the pit. And once they burn off enough, I'll just keep pushing them down into the fire a little further. But, and that's worked out really good so far. I've already had 4 of them burn up. So, I've actually gone through quite a bit of wood this morning. And this thing's done really well for what I need for today. If I was going out on a trip, then yeah, definitely I'd bring the bigger saw. But just for a day out in the woods, you can't go wrong with something like this. It's a little smaller than the Silky Pocket Boy 130. And I really like my Silky Pocket Boy 170. That one works really great. But yeah, I mean, for what it weighs and what it costs, great little saw. Just got done dragging a few pieces over here and cutting them up, so my knee's kind of hurting and my arm's kind of wore out because, like I said, that saw's not terribly efficient, but it does a good job. So I just thought I'd sit here by the fire, take a little break, and have a little chat. I had somebody a while back send me a message on Facebook, and if you guys aren't following my Facebook page, the link is in the description. People ask me questions on there a lot. If I find a new like craftsman or a new YouTube channel that I like, or if somebody's doing a giveaway and they post it on Facebook, I'll share it on that page. So it's a good place to follow me. I share things on there that I don't hear, and vice versa. But like I said, links in the description if you want to go follow me on Facebook. So anyhow, somebody sent me a message on there, and I didn't take it seriously at first. I thought they were messing with me. I thought they were, just trying to pull one over on me. But they asked me, why do preppers practice wilderness survival skills? And they used different language, but, that was basically the gist of the question. And I thought, like I said, I thought they were, trying to pull a gag on me or something. And but they came back and they were serious. They didn't quite understand why. So I thought I'd address that question, and my apologies to the person that sent me that question. I should have taken it seriously. I don't always realize, with all the stuff I have going on in life, I don't realize that not everybody grew up like me. Not everybody grew up going out to the woods, going hunting and trapping and hiking and all that kind of stuff like I did. So not everybody really can understand the mindset that I have and why, as a prepper, why I even do wilderness type stuff at all. So I thought about it for a while, and the best answer that I can give is because you just never know what kind of situation could present itself. Back in the days of the Great Depression, the late 20s and 30s, there was a lot of people short on food. And so sometimes people, especially if you live out in a rural area like I do, people would go out on hunting trips. And the deer population around here almost got wiped out during the Great Depression. People would go out and hunt, all the time. Rabbits, pheasants, all the wildlife around here that tastes good especially, almost got wiped out. So, people would go out and hunt sometimes for days at a time. And you need to, you would have to learn, how to pack for a trip and how to use your tools, use your weapons and all that kind of stuff in order to be able to sustain yourself out in the woods while you're hunting to, bring meat home for your family. And, also, I'm not terribly interested in foraging. I do a lot of, I garden. We have a pretty big garden for living in town. It's the biggest garden I've ever seen in town, at least in our town or the neighboring towns. But, we grow a lot of food. We can it, preserve it. We're also, we have 4 fruit trees, 2 apple trees, a peach tree, and a pear tree. And we're also, we put up grapevines this year. And next year we're planning on putting in some raspberry bushes. And maybe a couple other things. I still want to try the sunchokes or Jerusalem artichokes. But, gardening and all the berries and fruits and stuff that you can grow, even in, I have a pretty big lot with my house. Not everybody has that much room. So, no matter how much food you can grow, it's not going to be enough to sustain like a family of 4. It just isn't. You're going to be, you're going to have to ration your food very tight, and people are going to have to go hungry a lot. That's something that I don't think very many Americans experience nowadays. Happen to go without eating. Back in my early 20s, late teens and early 20s, very late teen, 19, 20, 21, about up to, I think I was 23, I had gotten in some trouble with the law, too many speeding tickets, and got my license taken away. Got caught driving under suspension before I even knew my license had been suspended. And, so they took my license away for a few years for being a habitual violator. And so I had a hard time finding a job. I, had next to no income. I did, odd jobs wherever I could find them, and times were really tough. But I do remember going 3 or 4 days at a time sometimes without anything to eat. And it will change your mindset. I really hate it when people waste food nowadays. When my daughter doesn't want to eat, it gets under my skin. I don't want to get mad at her for it. But, You know, because if you really shouldn't eat if you're not hungry, you shouldn't eat. Continue to eat. You know, people always used to say, finish what's on your plate. It's actually a bad idea, because if you're not hungry, if your body's not telling you to eat, you shouldn't eat. So, but back to the original point, you know, all the gardening and, you know, fruit trees and berries and all the stuff that you could possibly grow in your yard, in your house, in potted plants. A lot of people do patio tomato plants and stuff like that. You can grow green beans in a pot, you know, for like people in apartments, stuff like that. There's no way you could possibly grow enough food to sustain you, unless you really have a lot of land. And even then, it takes a lot of people to maintain. The more land you have, the more people it takes to maintain it and to work that land. And so then you have more mouths to feed. So it's kind of a cycle of difficulty. It raises the difficulty. You know, the more food you produce, the more people it takes to tend to it. And so then you have more mouths to feed. So, like I said, it's a cycle. And so that's just one reason. I mean, that was a long drawn out answer, but that's just one reason why a person should practice wilderness survival skills, so they can go out on, you know, maybe week-long trips to go hunting, to bring food back for your family, especially for the winter time when there is no garden and you have to rely on your food stores, because you can only store so much. There's only so much room in your house. I mean, you could have a year's worth of food and water in your house, but what if whatever happens, you know, say there's a major economic collapse like the Great Depression that lasted for several years. So a year's worth of food and water takes up a lot of space, and most people don't have the money or the room to store more than that. So that's just one aspect of it. Another reason is if you have to bug out. And I know some people will pipe up and say, well, I'm planning on bugging in. All I have to say to you is you cannot plan it. Bugging out is not a choice that you make. The situation determines what you do. It only takes one crazy asshole with a can of gas and a match to change your mind about bugging in. So, I mean, that's just one little thing that I like to say to people that just kind of blows their mind, like, oh, I didn't think about that. Or a huge flood or something like that will change your mind. You have to bug out. You don't have a choice. So people that say, I'm planning on bugging in, it's not, you can't plan for that. You have to plan for both. So if you had to bug out, and let's say the trip takes you longer than what you planned for. Let's say you packed a bug out bag for 72 hours like most people do. What if it takes you longer? What if you have to find something to eat along the way? You know, like I said before, berries and whatever you can forage for is not enough to sustain you. It's not enough calories if you're packing or hiking with a heavy pack on your back. Even if it's only an extra 20 pounds, it makes a huge difference. You guys know that subscribe to this channel that I started doing the ketogenic diet, and I lost about 30 pounds doing it so far. And I'm really glad I did, because otherwise my knees would really be hurting after that accident. I probably wouldn't be walking yet because it's still hurting me. And if I had to bug out right now, I'd be screwed. If I couldn't take a vehicle, there's no way. I couldn't do it. Well, I wouldn't say I couldn't do it, but it would hurt a lot. It'd be very slow going. So I would actually be putting my family in danger by slowing them down so much. But if you had to bug out for an extended period of time, if it took you longer to get to a safe place or to your bug out location or whatever the case, you need to be able to hunt. You need to be able to start a fire. Especially in the wintertime, there's nothing to forage for, or next to nothing. And so you're going to have to rely on meat. You're going to have to rely on mostly small game. The best, in my opinion, to carry for a bug out bag for a firearm is the Ruger 1022 Backpackers model. That's why I bought it. I think I've shown that in 1 or 2 videos. That's about it. But because the ammo's light, you can kill pretty much everything with a 22. I have seen people take a deer down with a .22 rifle with a well-placed shot. So, you know, rabbits, squirrels, all kinds of stuff you can take down with a .22 long rifle firearm. So you need to be able to do that. And like I said, if you're out for an extended stay, learning how to build a super shelter where you have a reflective tarp and a sheet of plastic in front so that the radiant heat can come in from the fire, but it doesn't escape. It stays nice and warm in there. I've seen people go out in weather that was down into the single digits and teens, and it was, you know, 60 degrees in their super shelter. I need to do a video on that. That's something I have always wanted to do a video of. I've set one up before and had the video didn't turn out. I wasn't able to post the video, but you know, I've done them before and they work very well. Even if you live in an urban area, if shit hits the fan and there is riots in the streets and you know, bumper to bumper traffic jams and things like that, and you got to take off on foot, you're going to want to get out of the city as fast as possible, especially if it's a case where the grid goes down or there's some kind of an attack, whatever. That's the first thing I do is get the hell out of the city, because when that many people in such a you know, there's a lot of people in, you know, small amount of space, they're going to get dangerous. They're going to panic. They're going to resort to doing things that people usually wouldn't do. And so that's the best advice I have if you live in an urban area. If you can move, do it. But if you can't, and I know a lot of people can't, city jobs are plentiful and they pay a lot better than living in a rural area like I do. But I prefer it because it's quieter. I don't like large groups of people, just, you know, for the whole purpose of prepping, and it also causes me some anxiety. I hate the city. But anyway, that's my best advice. If you live in an urban area, if you can move, do it. But if you can't, make sure you have a plan for getting the hell out of there if something catastrophic happens. And if you're on foot, you're going to have to go through the woods. You're going to want to walk, you know, as the crow flies to wherever you're going. You know, take a straight line. Don't travel the roads, because, you know, that's where all the people that don't know what's going on. I got smoke in my eyes going here, guys. Sorry. All the people that have never prepared and never put any thought into it, made no plans, didn't have any gear to speak of to make it through something like that, they're going to be traveling the roads. So I would be crossing fields and timbers and forested areas, and maybe find you know, find a wooded area to kind of hide out in, you know, when you need a break. And but I know other people are going to do that too. There's a lot of people that plan on, you know, one of their plans at least is going out to the woods where it's desolate, where there's less people. But the more people that have that plan, the less desolate it's going to be. So you have to really think about where you want to go. So I hope that answers your question. I know I kind of rambled on there for a while, but I hope that gives you a good idea of my thoughts on the subject, and I hope that helps you get a better understanding of how important it is to do, you know, at least some wilderness survival, you know, at least just the basics: starting a fire, setting up a shelter, being able to use a knife safely, and being able to use, you know, axe, saw, whatever tools that you might need, you know, to get a fire going, to build a shelter, to, you know, maybe get some snares. Don't rely on snare wire. That stuff is a joke. They're going to bounce and twist and jump around like crazy trying to get out of that trap. They don't want to be caught. So unless you're sitting there waiting to shoot that animal, as soon as it gets into your snare wire trap, it's going to be gone. So snare wire, don't do that. Get some cable snares, guys. They don't cost much. They don't weigh that much. Even if it's just a half a dozen of them. Trapping is a numbers game. So 1 or 2 isn't going to do it. You need more. If you can stand to carry a dozen of them, do so. That's just one more little tip, that I learned years ago from trapping coon in the riverbanks and along creeks and stuff like that. It's definitely a numbers game. The more traps you set, the better chance you have of catching something. So like I said, I hope that answers your question. Sorry for not taking it seriously at first, but if you guys have any other questions, something that I can address in a video, feel free to send me a message on Facebook. I don't check my email very often anymore, so Facebook is the best place to contact me, and I don't check my Facebook every day either. I'm just burnt out on social media and all the political crap that comes across Facebook. Woodrow, want beef stick? Huh? Want beef stick? Well, lay down. Roll over. Roll over. Roll over. Roll over, Woodrow. Oh, you good dog. Good boy. Alright guys, so the fire's dying down. We're just going to wait for that to burn out, to go out, whatever the case. Maybe have to pour some water on it, whatever. But got everything packed up. I will say I am very happy with this Continental rucksack from LL Bean. I got that all packed up other than my water bottle and my chair. Woodrow looks like he's pretty tuckered out too. So I think we're probably gonna call it a day. My knees had enough anyways. I'll get back with you on the way out. I'm gonna shoot one more video. I got a tag challenge type of video with a bunch of, like a Q&A type of thing, kind of like that bunker tag video that I did, just to kind of get the community involved and give some people some shout outs and that kind of thing. So if you missed the last video, the shout out video, definitely go check that out. A lot of good channels to go look into and see what kind of content they have. And then the challenge video will be coming up next. Alright guys, well, I poured out the rest of my water to put out the fire. My knee's hurting pretty bad, so I better get back to the truck before I can't walk anymore. So, I know I wasn't able to do much in this video other than sit around and run my mouth and pet my dog, but I tell you what, it was the most I've enjoyed shooting videos in a very long time, and I hope I can get out and do it some more, and maybe do a little bit more as I heal up. So, hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thanks for coming along. Really appreciate you guys. All the things that, all the comments you leave. It always brightens my day up. So, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.